Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm your host, DZ, the Crochet Lady. And in my latest video, we learned how to crochet the granny square with the Irish rose in the middle. In this video, we're going to learn how to sew all of those squares together or crochet them together to form a sweater. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss any of the details. Okay, let's get ready to sew our squares together. You're going to want to have your squares facing downward like that together, of course. Always use the same point of reference when you're sewing or crocheting your squares together. I chose the middle chain of the chain 3 in each corner. So let's join that way. Bring your item together just like this. You're going to insert your hook into the chains, just like this, and make sure you're matching it up with the right chain in the other square. And you're just going to slip stitch. Okay, so that's not really a slip stitch yet. That's just bringing up our loop. So insert your hook into the next chains on both squares. Yarn over and pull through your loop. And that's your first slip stitch. So you're going to follow this slip stitch method all the way down, catching each corresponding set. Let's tighten that up right there. There we go. Make sure that you catch your chains in between. If you skip your chain, make sure you skip it on all of them so that you have consistency. I chose not to skip any of my chains and actually slip stitch into each one of them. What you do is up to you. Alright, so keep on going. When you get to this corner, make your last slip stitch in the middle chain of your corner. Okay, so we've sewn together our first couple of squares, or crocheted, whatever you're doing. Make sure you have enough yarn, pull it through, leave a nice long tail. And just leave this like this. Okay, we're going to tie these to another section of squares crocheted together later on. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so go ahead and sew, like if you're going to do sleeves, sew your next two sections together, and then we're going to join them this way, okay? So we've got these other two sections sewn together here, and we're going to start sewing them right, or crocheting them, however you're doing it, at the same reference point. So go ahead and sew your item together at the same reference point, just like that, and then I'll meet you right here in the middle. Okay, so we've reached the middle, and our middle chains are occupied, okay, on all four corners here. So what you're going to do is just continue, skip over the one occupied chain here, and just come right into the next one. Whoops. And the next one on the other block. So now we're ready to continue our slip stitch. So continue matching all of your loops. And we'll come back and tie these in just a second. Okay, so we have started and ended at the same reference point. So let's go ahead and pull our yarn through a little bit, leaving enough to, work with later. And let's come to the middle of our project. all you're going to do is cross these like this. And however you do this is totally up to you. I mean, and cross the other ones. All right. And it looks fabulous on the other side. Everything matches up, super nice. So go ahead and sew your next section of sleeve together, and we will sew that up the same way. All right, so we have all 3 sections done and sewn together in the middle. Now we're going to need to make our side seam for our sleeves. So you're going to do the same thing using the same reference point at the bottom, and do your slip stitch, skipping over each occupied area, and then you're going to stop when you get right here, leaving these last 2 blocks unstitched. Okay, I've got both of my sleeves all ready here, okay? So these are my 2 back flowers. We've left both of our side seams open, and don't work these yet. Just stop at where your reference point is on each sleeve, leaving them open. Next, you will take your item. These are your back flowers, and you're going to flip your item over just like that, so that your back panels or your back squares are matching. And go ahead and crochet those together using the same technique and same reference points. All right, so we have made our back seam. Now I do have more squares that I'm going to attach down here, but the back is nice and together. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to sew your new squares, or crochet, attach, however you're doing it, your new square to the front. Okay, using the same reference point and stitch method as all of the other squares we've joined. Okay, now our front panels are sewn, and all we have to do is attach our other back panel. So if you haven't already, go ahead and crochet your next 2 panels together and neatly attach them to your back panel. You're going to use the same method and the same reference point. Alright, so we have our back all sewn together. Okay, and we have our front panels sewn to the shoulders. So next, all we're going to need to do is sew the side seams. So using the same stitch method and reference points, you're going to sew your side seams up until you get to your occupied stitch on each side. Okay, let's just make a nice simple finished edge, and however many rounds you go is of course up to you. I'm just going to do single crochet, so starting at the back on the bottom, this is turned upside down, you're going to insert your hook into any one of your double crochets, yarn over and pull up a loop and chain 1. And you're just going to make single crochet in all the stitches around, so catch your tail in, just 1 stitch, and then single crochet in each stitch around. Whether you crochet into the chain 1 space or into the chain 1 is your preference. Alright, so continue, and we'll meet right back here. You're going to go all the way around, all the way around, okay? Even to the neck, all the way around. So you're going to want to tie these off just like we've tied them off in the beginning, okay? Everybody ties off differently, so I'm not going to get too much more into how to tie things off after the first example, you know, you can pretty much, you know, make up your own way of doing it. Alright, so I have finished my edge around the entire piece here. But what we're looking at right now is the back of the neck part. So you've got all your strands, and right before you single crochet through them, you're going to want to single crochet into the occupied stitches as well. Otherwise, you'll have some gappage, and you know, you'll see that if you don't do it. So let's proceed. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to make a cuff around the sleeves. Now, I like to use a size or two smaller. I was using a size 5. I'm going to size down to a 3.75 millimeter or a size F. You can go even smaller, or, you know, do whatever's comfortable to you. I choose this because it makes the cuff come in really nicely and fast. I don't have to do a whole bunch of rounds in order for my cuff to fit. Alright, so let's do the same technique. Insert your hook into any one of your double crochets, and I chose to start on the back of the sleeve. Chain 1. That counts as your first single crochet, and just like we did on the edge, we're going to do that on our cuffs too. Same method, just single crochet in each stitch and in each chain 1 or chain 1 space. And then I'll see you right over here. Alright, so we're back to where we started, our chain 1, and we're not going to really join, we're just going to single crochet into the next single crochet. And you're going to single crochet in each stitch around. Put a stitch marker on your new crochet or your new stitch of each round to keep track of how many rows you do. And I do this because after this second round, I'm going to size down to a 3.5 millimeter, and then after 5 rounds of that, I'm going to size down to a 3.25 millimeter for the rest of the rounds. So keep track, and then that way your rounds will be even on both sides. And you'll have a nice finished tapered looking cuff, just like this. Instead of tying off at the neckline, go ahead and snip your loose ends and weave them in, kind of like in a spiral effect, just like you see here. What this does is it helps take some of the tension off of the neckline, and it keeps your neckline from being bulky. Alright, you guys, look at these cuffs. Of course, you're going to snip off and weave up and tie in however you do. Alright, as usual, I love hanging out with you guys. Alright, we'll chit chat in the near future. Peace out.